77 WABC invites you to a family fun day and softball showdown on July 20th with net proceeds benefiting Shriners Children's. John Sterling will call the game as the FDNY takes on the NYPD with special guests Dwight Gooden, Art Shamsky, 77 WABC hosts, including Sid Rosenberg, Anthony Cumia, Lionel, Dominic Carter, and many more. For more info and to buy tickets, go to ShrinersChildren'sChampions.org. That's ShrinersChildren'sChampions.org.
Hi, welcome to the Dick Morris and Doug DePiro Show.
Hello, Dick Morris.
Sponsored by the Patriot Gold Group. I asked John McLaughlin, my friend who is Trump's pollster, what's the story with Jewish voters? Why are they so hostile to Trump, and why are they so enamored of Mamdani?
Right.
And he got back to me with a detailed analysis based on a poll that he did on August 6th of 24 last year. And he surveyed voters in New York State on their religion. And only 8.8% said they were Jewish, but 30% said someone in their household was of Jewish ancestry. But they did not specify themselves as being Jewish. So you subtract the numbers, and the secular vote is 21%. So you have 9% that say they're Jewish, 30% that say they're of Jewish ancestry. So the secular vote is 21%, with another 6% who don't know. So more people identify themselves as secular Jews, not religious at all, then identify themselves as either Protestant or Jewish. So when you ask people, what is your religion? 38% statewide say Catholic, 22% say Protestant, 21% say atheist, agnostic, or secular.
That's 70.
9% say Jewish, and 1% say Russian Orthodox, 1% say Muslim, and so on. And so the idea that there is a Jewish vote in New York is really much more apparent than real. The Jews in New York have become atheists and agnostics, and there are only 9% of the vote are actually cast by Jews who think they're Jews.
And it does seem like they really don't care what happens to Israel and that sort of thing.
They don't have any special concern about that. And it's very important that we factor that into our understanding. We're assuming that New York is 1/3 Jewish. That's the normal stat.
Right.
And when you consider Jewish ancestry, that's correct. But when you consider belief in a religion, a divinely based religion, only 9% say they're Jews. So 21% do not say they're Jews, but they say they've had Jewish ancestry in the past.
Do you think that 9% of the 30, if I'm getting this right, are closer to the middle, to the right?
It's 9% of 100 that say they're Jewish. 100 is the total sample. So they're certainly more inclined to be conservative. But the fact is that there really is not much of a Jewish population in New York. The idea that there is a lot is just a misnomer. So we're dealing in here increasingly with a phenomenon of atheism and agnosticism and secularism among Jews. Now, Adolf Hitler had an interesting take on that. He said that if 1/8 of your ancestry is Jewish, you're Jewish. And those are the people he sent to concentration camps and tried to kill. But to Hitler, it was enough to be 1/8 Jewish. I'm not hearing the show.
Okay.
Hello. Okay.
Can you hear it now,
Still
Dick?
not hearing it.
Okay. All right, go.
So Hitler.
Just keep talking.
So Hitler believed that if you were 1/8 Jewish in ancestry, you were Jewish. Jewish enough to be persecuted, to be killed, to be gassed. But now in the United States, 3/4 or 4/5 of the Jewish population in New York are not religious and basically are atheist or agnostic. A very shocking number and something that I think is really important.
Wow.
So
The cost of imported goods
yeah,
drops.
Now, right now we're witnessing an unbelievable time in the American economy, a tremendous change. Inflation has basically disappeared as a political issue.
It's amazing, isn't it?
Just 17% of Americans say inflation or the economy is a top concern, an 18-point decline since June in just a few months.
Wow.
This is the first time since September of 22 that inflation and the economy have not registered as the top concerns to voters. And the cost of imported goods actually has fallen by 0.5 point since March. So there is no inflation, or there's very little in the way of inflation. It's a political issue. And even goods that are imported from abroad have not experienced much inflation, even with the tariffs that Trump is imposing. A very important finding. Now, while all this is going on, we're noticing that the middle class has gotten a lot richer. Some in the media say the middle class is being hollowed out. That was Kamala Harris's phrase.
Of course.
Wrong. The middle class is moving up the economic ladder.
They're moving up?
As economist Mark Perry points out, after adjusting for inflation, 3 times more Americans make at least $100,000 a year than was the case in 1970. Billy Joel agrees with that. So in New York, they're both moving out and moving up. Moving out by leaving New York and moving up in income. The share of U.S. households earning $100,000 or more, adjusted for inflation, has more than tripled from 13% in '67 to 41% in '23. Tripled. The share of American households earning between 35 and 100 has declined from 55 to 38 since 1967. But so there's been a huge change in constant dollars. This is adjusted for inflation in the United States, of people moving from basically the upper lower class to the lower upper class, and the percent that are making 100,000 or more in constant dollars has tripled since 1967. An amazing statistic.
That's great.
Now, we know that in this whole debate over the BBB, what they're now calling the OBBB, the official beautiful balanced budget bill, there has been increasing talk that there would be a deficit, that we would have deficits as far as we could see. The deficit hawks in Congress were saying they're not going to vote for the bill because it's going to add to the national debt. But new data from the Treasury Department show that surging tariff revenues in June last month helped the U.S. government post an unexpected budget surplus, not deficit, surplus of $27 billion, offering a rare financial bright spot amid persistently high federal deficits, and suggesting that Trump's tariff policies are becoming a significant source of government revenue.
So it's working.
Now, I've been talking about this for months.
Yep.
And nobody's been listening. They've all been saying, oh,
no way,
big deficits, and this is fiscally irresponsible. I've been saying, hey, pay attention to the tariff revenues. They're not being adequately scored by the Congressional Budget Office.
And I'm not going to mention somebody very big that we had lunch with and said, no way, no way. And you were like, no, this is going to work. I'm not going to say who that is, but sure.
After running a $316 billion deficit in May, the government recorded a surplus of $27 billion last month. That's not speculation. That's cash in hand.
It's unbelievable.
The tariff windfall helped narrow the fiscal year-to-date deficit to $1.3 trillion. by contrast, June of 24 saw a $71 billion deficit. A key driver in the improved balance was a record-breaking surge in tariff duties. The Treasury data released on Friday show that tariff collections soared to $27 billion in June alone, pushing total tariff revenues since October to $108 billion, the highest ever recorded in the first 9 months of a fiscal year. June's haul represented a significant jump from May's prior record of $22 billion and was about 93% higher than the $56 billion collected during the same 9-month span of the previous years.
Wow.
So far in July, tariff revenues have added another $2.4 billion to federal coffers. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent has predicted even higher tariff revenues in the months ahead. He said the U.S. is on track to collect $300 billion by the end of the calendar year.
$300 billion.
Yep. Noting that major tariffs imposed under Trump did not start until the second quarter. So this is a total change. 1 month, 2 or 3 months ago, what's the major economic problem facing the United States?
Inflation. Sure.
No more. And what's the major problem facing the federal government? The deficit? No more. The deficit has now begun to be eliminated. It'll reappear in future months, but not nearly to the extent that it was. And tariff revenues have provided the difference. So as opposed to wrecking the economy, which is what we've all been worried about from tariffs, it's actually
And the
strengthening
CBO.
economy.
And the CBO.
A great deal.
Us, right?
So Americans are now feeling good vibrations about the U.S. economy. Good vibrations, Lux.
You got to admit it's getting better. You got to admit it's getting better every
Yeah.
day. I got to say that. It really is. Trump knows what he's doing.
Americans are feeling good vibrations about the economy. When asked how their family's personal financial situation has developed over the past year, more people are saying things have improved at the highest level since 2021. They haven't felt this positive since we were coming out of the COVID pandemic.
Yeah, 20% are saying it's getting better.
And
right. Good vibrations. Nice.
Yep. So the national economy is doing very well, and the budget's doing very well. So let's update our views of the national economy and of the problems. It's no longer inflation, and it's no longer a budget deficit. When we come back, we're going to talk about how Los Angeles is passing out cash to illegal immigrants.
God.
The Dick Morris Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
77 WABC invites you to a family fun day and softball showdown on July 20th with net proceeds benefiting Shriners Children's. John Sterling will call the game as the FDNY takes on the NYPD with special guests Dwight Gooden, Art Shamsky, 77 WABC hosts including Sid Rosenberg, Anthony Cumia, Lionel, Dominic Carter, and many more. For more info and to buy tickets, go to ShrinersChildren'sChampions.org. That's ShrinersChildren'sChampions.org.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive, a leader in boat insurance. Welcome aboard to Carefree Boating. Here, we don't worry about the what-ifs, because we explore with Progressive Boat Insurance for as little as $100 per year for a basic liability policy. Progressive also offers a variety of other coverages and can help you cover repair costs when you need it. And with discounts like multi-policy, safety courses, responsible driver, and more, your mind can really float free. Cruise on over to Progressive.com to get a quote today and see if you could save. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Rate and discounts not available in all states or situations.
Hi, I'm Cyndi Lauper. My scalp was covered with psoriasis, which could lead to psoriatic arthritis. But Cosentyx treats both.
Cosentyx secukinumab is prescribed for adults with moderate to severe plaque psoriasis 300 milligram dose and adults with active psoriatic arthritis 150 milligram dose. Don't use if you're allergic to Cosentyx. Before starting, get checked for tuberculosis. An increased risk of infections and lowered ability to fight them may occur. like tuberculosis or other serious bacterial, fungal, or viral infections. Some were fatal. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms like fevers, sweats, chills, muscle aches, or cough, had a vaccine or plan to, or if inflammatory bowel disease symptoms develop or worsen. Serious allergic reactions and severe eczema-like skin reactions may occur. Learn more at Cosentix.com or 1-844-COSENTIX.
Cosentix works for me.
Ask your doctor about Cosentix.
At Arizona State University, we're bringing world-class education from our globally acclaimed faculty to you. Earn your degree from the nation's most innovative university. Online. That's a degree better. Learn more at asuonline.asu.edu.
The Dick Morris Show.
Entertaining and informative.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
So we're now in the second week of July, and Trump has been president for 6 months, 5 months, and there is no more inflation, and there are no more budget deficits. Repeat that. There is no more inflation, and the budget is balanced, at least for this month, and probably run a deficit, but not that huge in the future. Now in Los Angeles, the mayor, Karen Bass, announced a plan that would distribute a couple $100 to people who've been affected by Trump's immigration raids.
Talk about money for nothing.
Yeah, dire straits.
Talk about that. Literally. It is
Karen Bass, the mayor of L.A.
Wait, what show is this, by the way?
This is the Dick Morris and Doug DePiro show.
Sponsored by
the Patriot Gold Group.
Ah, that's beautiful.
Thank you. Mayor of Los Angeles, Karen Bass, said, "You have people who don't want to leave their homes, who are not going to work, and they're in need of cash. Don't want to leave their homes and don't want to go to work." And she is passing out hundreds of dollars to people who've been affected by the immigration raids. This is in addition to welfare, in addition to food stamps, in addition to Medicaid. This is basically just, I don't want to work money.
Right. I don't want to work money.
Now, the FBI is announcing that it is closing in on John Brennan and James Comey.
I love this
the
story.
Former FBI director and the former CIA director, over their conduct in the Russia collusion narrative.
And the dossier and the whole thing.
The FBI has launched criminal investigations. This is real stuff. This is jail time.
It's beautiful.
Into former CIA Director John Brennan and former FBI Director James Comey, according to a Fox News report. Both men served under President Obama and were key players in pushing the Trump collusion narrative that dogged Trump's first term. The DOJ sources and CIA Director Ratcliffe have given evidence concerning Brennan to FBI Director Kash Patel, and an investigation into Comey is also underway. The investigations may involve potentially false statements made to Congress.
That's contempt of Congress, isn't it?
Yep. CIA Director John Ratcliffe handed evidence concerning Brennan to Kash Patel, triggering the investigation. Brennan violated the public's trust and should be held accountable to it, Fox News said. The investigations focus on potentially false statements made to Congress. This bombshell comes after a review of the 2017 Intelligence Community Assessment, ICA, that claimed Russia had tried to help Trump win the presidency. On page 5 of this newly released review, career CIA officers admit that the Steele dossier, which was the basis of these charges, was included in the 2016 report by Brennan, and they did it over the objections of career intelligence officials. When confronted with specific flaws in the dossier by the two mission center leaders, one with operational experience and the other with a strong analytic background, he appeared more swayed by the dossier's general conformity with existing theories than by legitimate tradecraft concerns. Brennan ultimately formalized his position in writing, stating that my bottom line is that I believe this information warrants inclusion in the report. Now, go back in time. This was 2017. Trump had just been elected, and the Democrats were peddling the narrative that his election was invalid because Russia had intervened in the election and had biased the tables in favor of Trump. And Hillary was echoing that concern and was the major element in her explanation as to why she lost the 2016 election.
Oh, you're talking about Hillary.
And the CIA was desperate to have an intelligence finding that said that this was true, that Russia had been involved. And Brennan overrode the career CIA officials who told him not to include the dossier in the formal report about Russian interference. This sentence in the report Ratcliffe released stunned members of Congress and senior staff, who recalled in conversations that Brennan testified before closed doors that he did not advocate for the dossier to be included in the report. As such, it would appear that despite his testimony to Congress to the opposite contrary, Brennan did the exact opposite of what he testified about.
Got him.
Trump reacted Wednesday to the news, saying that they both made false statements. I believe they're truly bad people and dishonest people. So whatever happens, happens, the president added. So
he sat back. He's just sitting back waiting.
Yeah.
Popcorn.
But the point is that this entire scandal, the entire notion that Trump had allies in the Politburo and in Russia who were tilting the election to him, we know came from the dossier prepared by a British spy with money provided by the Hillary campaign. Right. We know that it was propagated in the news media by Hillary's campaign working with Senator John McCain. And now we know that President Obama acted on that information based on an intelligence assessment by the CIA. We have now learned that that intelligence assessment did not say that Russia was helping Trump. It did not say that. And Brennan just added that to try to give it credibility.
You know,
and now he's facing a possible indictment for perjury for having done so.
You know, now for whatever it's been now, 8 years or so, or whatever, 6 years, for I don't know how long it's been now, about 6-7 years, that people were dying to see somebody go to jail. This is the beginning right now. First of all, contempt of Congress. They got General Flynn for that, didn't they? Isn't that what they got him on? With the same deal. The FBI grabbed him and talked to him. It wasn't contempt of Congress. It was...
Yeah, contempt of Congress.
It was, right? So now they're going to get Comey and this other guy, Brennan. We've been waiting for this for years. Finally, something's going to happen.
Yep.
And this looks like it
and
really is.
And it's not happening because of Trump. It's happening because of documents in the FBI and the CIA's possession,
right,
that implicate Brennan in contempt of Congress.
Beautiful. Finally.
Now, Peter Navarro, who Doug and I both love and work closely with,
great guy,
has written about the economy. The news I sent to you earlier that the budget is approaching balance and that inflation is disappearing. And he's saying Americans should get ready to get on an economic rocket ship in the future.
The Dick Morris Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The Dick Morris Show.
Entertaining and informative.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
But Rocket Man's not going to be the one flying it, is he? The North Korean guy? He's not going to... Because when I hear that song, I think about Trump.
So I'm reading to you a memo by Navarro.
This is great.
The Republican Congress and President Trump just delivered a major victory to the American people by passing and enacting into law the historic One Big Beautiful Bill Act. Predictably, liberal media outlets led by CNN, MSNBC, the New York Times, and the Washington Post continue to insist that the OBBB will add trillions to our national debt. The truth, backed by both historical experience
And
robust economic analysis, is the exact opposite. Trump's BBB will not only boost jobs and take-home pay for America's working-class families, it will, and it is now, slashing deficits by trillions of dollars, as its targeted expenditures will strengthen our national defense and secure our borders. As a bonus, the BBB will rapidly accelerate the deportation of millions of illegal immigrants, now stealing jobs from American citizens and driving down wages. At the center of the fake news misinformation storm is the Congressional Budget Office. For years, the CBO has been trapped in a stale, left-wing Keynesian mindset and stubbornly committed to static scoring models that fail to grasp how real-world economics responds to bold pro-growth policies. This is Navarro speaking. As someone who's witnessed President Trump craft his economic agenda from inside the West Wing, I can tell you firsthand, when you cut taxes, slash job-killing regulations, achieve energy dominance, defend America's manufacturing base with tariffs, and fight for fair trade, the economy doesn't just inch forward, it takes off. Exhibit A, the Trump 2017 Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. I was there when the CBO confidently projected a return to sleepy Obama-Biden new normal 1.8 to 2% growth. What actually happened? In 2018, the real GDP soared ahead at 3%. Business investment surged. Hundreds of billions in overseas profits came home. Small businesses and consumers felt like Washington had their backs, and they responded by spending, investing, and hiring. All of this completely blindsided the bean counters at the CBO, who missed the wave of innovation and confidence Trump's policies ignited.
Confidence is it. That's what they missed.
Now comes CBO 2.0, once again stumbling into the Trump policy arena with its trademark combination of backward-looking modeling and partisan blind spots. Instead of learning from a spectacular misfire on Trump's 2017 tax bill, the CBO is now recycling the same flawed assumptions to smear the fiscal integrity of the BBB, and the fake news is eating it up. Here's how the tired old misinformation act of the CBO has unfolded. At the outset of the scoring of the OBB, the CBO defaulted to its static methodology. As in 2017, it assumed a chronically underwhelming annual real GDP growth rate of just 1.8%, the same stale figure it clung to for over a decade, regardless of the supply-side reforms in play. Unsurprisingly, the result of the CBO's debut analysis of the BBB was a headline-grabbing forecast of $3.9 trillion added to the national debt over 10 years. Of course, this initial forecast came under withering fire for two glaring omissions. First, as in 2017, it ignored the dynamic growth baked into BBB's permanent tax cuts, deregulatory measures, and investment incentives. Second, it refused to account for the revenue-generating power of Trump's tariff policies, which the White House projects will generate as much as $2.8 trillion over the same decade.
Wow,
Doug, you've been on the phone when I've talked to the president about this for months now, for 6 months. And I said, you have got to get them to take account, to get the CBO to score the tariff revenues.
And he said, what am I going to do?
The whole picture.
I know.
And he said, I'm going to do it later today.
Right, he did say that, and he did it.
Under heavy fire, the CBO scrambled to release a second dynamic estimate, but once again they blew it. This time they cooked the books by front-loading the bill's costs, artificially inflating the early debt load. That let them assume a spike in interest rates, which then conveniently wiped out the growth their model was supposed to measure. It was a masterclass in bureaucratic sabotage disguised as financial analysis. Had the CBO conducted an intellectually honest, dynamic analysis and accurately counted for the Trump tariff, it would have forecast a massive multi-trillion-dollar surplus, not an equally massive increase in the debt. Instead, what we got was another ideological forecast designed to discredit a Trump-led growth agenda that history has already vindicated once more. This CBO trash is what fake news is talking about now, every day and night before the American people. It's Trump derangement syndrome efforts to discredit beyond question what is truly a big, beautiful, and fiscally responsible bill. Here's the real news. President Trump has designed a tax cut that will not just pay for itself through more rapid economic growth and robust tariff collections. The beautiful budget bill will reduce America's deficits by trillions, while financing everything from no taxes on tips and overtime to a much stronger national defense and far more secure border. And this is what Navarro writes. Get ready for the rocket ship.
Love it.
Lux?
Lux, one more time with that. Anyway, I have a question. You know, Dick, I've asked you this quite a few times and we talked about it, but I need to ask again. Congressional Budget Office. Who picks them? Who are they? What is this team? Just tell me.
They're a group of civil servants who are appointed by the Senate Majority Leader, who sometimes is a Democrat and sometimes is a Republican. And it was set up in 1974 as part of the effort to equalize the power of Congress and the White House, to be congressional equivalent of the Office of Management and Budget.
Almost like a
controlled by
referee
the
type
president.
of thing.
Yeah, a counter.
Uh-huh.
And the idea was between the two, you get an accurate view. But in the course of the last 30 or 40 years, it has become ossified, staffed by liberals, and controlled by the left. So anytime you propose a bill to do anything, the CBO rules on it and says, oh, God, this is going to screw up the deficit, this is going to increase the national debt, and they influence senators and congressmen to vote no. Now, increasingly, we're realizing that they're wrong, that their model is wrong, their approach is wrong, and nowhere have they screwed up more than in their prediction that Trump's current BBB will increase the debt and increase the deficit.
Okay, so with that, there should be accountability, correct?
Yeah.
You've been wrong X amount of times, whatnot. Do they get hired, fired? How do we deal
Well,
with
they
that?
should be fired, but
Is it looked upon, frowned upon? If you
but they're not being fired because if Trump fired them, everybody would say you're jiggering
Right,
the numbers.
exactly.
Your thumb is on the scale.
Right.
But increasingly, as the data comes in that shows how wrong the CBO was, I think they're now going to have to fire these guys.
But doesn't Congress do that? Fire and
yeah,
hire
the
this?
majority leader of the House and
Right, okay.
Senate does, Sir
So it
John
won't be-
Thune, and the Speaker do it together.
Okay. All right, so we're going to go. When we come back, what are we talking about?
We're talking about how Biden's Green New Deal would have cost up to $5 trillion, but now it's been canceled.
The Dick Morris Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The Dick Morris Show.
Entertaining and informative.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Hi, welcome back to the Dick Morris and Doug DePiro Show, sponsored by the Patriot Gold Group.
So,
Doug?
Biden's green giveaways, a new study. First of all, I want to see where the CBO is on this, right? The new study by the Cato Institute estimates that after just 2 years, the Biden green giveaway deal, we're on top to cost $936 billion and $2 trillion over the next 10 years, and between $2 trillion and $5 trillion by 2050.
So these giveaways
Where was
in
the
the
CBO?
so-called Green New Deal were based on Biden's budget, and Trump canceled them all with the work of DOJ and with the work with the new balanced budget bill. And now the Cato Institute has estimated that had he not stopped it, had he not intervened, these joys would have cost up to $5 trillion.
Wow.
And they're now canceled.
Unbelievable. So $14 billion in income leaves New York State as 125,000 go to Florida. People go to Florida in the past 5 years. If you're not in it for love, Lux, what are we in it for, right? So 125,000 people went to Florida in the past 5 years. That's unbelievable. Anyway, the court okays mass layoffs by Trump. The Trump administration can move forward with its plans to slash the federal workforce and dismantle federal agencies, the Supreme Court announced on Tuesday. The decision could result in job losses for tens of thousands of employees at agencies, including Department of Housing and Urban Development, State Treasury, and Veterans Affairs. But, he's adding jobs with ICE, which we're going to be talking about later.
That's right.
That. He's adding 10,000 and whatnot. We'll talk about that later. The case represents a key test of the extent of President Trump's power to reorganize the government without input from Congress. The Washington Post. Two of the liberal justices, Elena Kagan and Sonia Sotomayor, appear to have joined the conservatives in allowing the administration to plan reorganizing and reductions.
This is important. The Supreme Court is classically divided: six liberals and six conservatives and three liberals. But now two of the three liberals, Kagan and Sotomayor, have joined with the conservatives to rule that Trump can do what he likes within the executive branch. He can go ahead with these massive layoffs.
Wow, they're actually they're starting to have a little bit of a feel for the president. It's amazing. So, and now the USDA bans land sales to the Chinese natives. This is great, too. We have a song by this for this, right? Don't we, Lux? Maggie's? No more. U.S. Department of Agriculture Secretary Brooke Rollins said Tuesday that the department would no longer allow Chinese nationals and other foreign adversaries to purchase farmland in the United States. The USDA has already canceled 7 active agreements with foreign countries of concern and removed roughly 70 people affiliated with those contracts Roland was talking about the other day. Her comments came
Nearly 46 million acres of forest and farmland are now held by foreign investors, including by countries hostile to the U.S., according to the department.
The foreign farmland purchase map unveiled to the public Thursday highlights the increase of foreign persons buying up land across all 50 states and Puerto Rico, which many lawmakers have deemed a national security risk. As of December 31st, 2023, approximately 45.8 million acres, that's 71,000 square miles, slightly larger than Washington State, of American soil belongs to foreign entities, while investors from Canada and the Netherlands, Italy, and the United Kingdom cumulatively own more than 60% of that land. Other foreign investors are acting on behalf of countries the U.S. considers hostile.
So land the size of Washington State, which is huge, are now owned by foreigners. And 40% of that land is owned by foreigners who are anti-American.
Wow.
So now the U.S. Department of Agriculture has banned those sales, and it's about time.
Yeah, and Harvard's going to lose its accreditation with all of this the Education Department and Department of Health and Human Services told Harvard University creditor Wednesday there's a strong evidence to suggest the school may no longer meet accreditation standards. The letter to New England Commission of Higher Education is the latest escalation in the Trump administration's multi-front effort against the nation's oldest college. Loss of accreditation would mean Harvard could not receive federal student aid. The federal department said Harvard was found in violation of anti-discrimination laws, and therefore its accreditors need to work with the university to take away. If Harvard fails to remedy the situation, accredited bodies play a significant role in preserving academic integrity and a campus culture conducive to truth seeking and learning. Part of what is ensuring students are safe on campus and abiding by federal laws that guarantee educational opportunities to all students. Education Secretary Linda McMahon, said in the statement. By allowing anti-Semitic harassment and discrimination to persist unchecked on its campus, Harvard University has failed in its obligation to students, educators, and the American taxpayer. The Department of Education expects the New England Commission of Higher Education to enforce its policies and practices and to keep the department fully informed of its efforts to ensure that Harvard is in compliance with federal law and accreditor standards.
So this would basically close Harvard down.
Why? You don't think they're going to...
They couldn't get student loans. They couldn't get scholarships.
Right.
And they would just have to live off their endowment, which Trump is now taxing heavily. So when we come back in the Ukraine war, the U.S. is preparing to get real with serious sanctions against Russia. We'll talk about that when we come back.
The Dick Morris Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The Dick Morris Show.
Entertaining and informative.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Hi, welcome back to the Dick Morris and Doug DePira Show, sponsored by the Patriot Gold Group. Trump has gotten increasingly frustrated with Russia in the negotiations with Ukraine, and he has been increasingly flirting with the idea of very strong economic sanctions against Russia that would bring Russia to its knees very quickly. And now legislation to require him to do that, the Russian Sanctioning Act of 2025, is moving ahead in the Senate, with Senator Phil Gramm and Richard Blumenthal of Connecticut, would impose primary and secondary sanctions on Russia and any countries that purchase Russian oil, gas, uranium, or other products. It would impose a 500% tariff on imported goods from any countries that purchase sanctioned Russian products. Gramm said the legislation would give Trump a waiver to exempt certain imports and exports from sanctions. But the real focus of the bill is to hit the customers of China, India buys 70% of the Russian oil and gas. I've always believed the way this war ends is when China goes to Putin and says, enough already.
Right.
You're hurting us now.
Wow.
So this is really serious stuff. Secondary sanctions are really tough. It means that if you do business with Russia and you're buying Russian oil,
like another country,
we're going to tariff you
right.
In your trade domestically, and that's a threat that no country can ignore.
Right. Well, and he's also working on the payroll of the White House. The Trump White House releases payroll for the first time this term, and it's the lowest in 16 years. Total White House payroll amounted to $44.1 million for 404 employees in 2025, which is the lowest it's been since at least 2009 when adjusted for inflation, according to the Open the Books. The number represents a 29% drop from the Biden White House of $62.2 million in payroll for 565 individuals.
So look at all Trump has done, and he's done it with 150 fewer employees in the White House than Biden had. and a 29% drop in spending on the White House staff.
He trimmed his belt, is what he did. You know what I mean? He's working
Totally.
out and he's trimming down.
Totally incredible.
That's the way to do it, man. The guy's unbelievable. And now ICE to increase arrests after the BBB. He's going to be busted. Call a cab. All right, Tom Homan, who's unbelievable, said Monday that Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE, officials will ramp up arrests of illegal immigrants following the passage of the Big Beautiful Bill Act last week. When asked about the funding provided under the bill, Homan said that money will be used to construct more border walls along the U.S.-Mexico border for ICE and other enforcement efforts. President Trump signed the roughly 900-page bill into law on July 4th, allowing for 10,000 more ICE officers to be hired. That's what I was talking about.
Yeah.
More hirings, right? The bill provides ICE with enough detention capacity for 100,000 illegal immigrants and secures 80,000 new beds for the agency's detention centers.
That does not include those who were eaten by the alligator.
Oh my God! Is that when they're dragging them in?
Yeah.
And they don't want to come in. No, come in. Okay, stay outside for half a day. Don't worry about it. Let's go in the sun. Relax. Yeah. Oh, where are those 10 guys out there? There's one limping over to us. No, that's horrible, Dick. This is horrible. You're really going down. It's going to put more boots on the ground for immigration informants, Homan said at the White House, adding that as of Monday, more than 600,000 illegal immigrants with criminal records are still in the United States. 600,000. Homan signaled that the administration is seeking to carry out more ICE-related arrests and indicated that a previous set threshold of 3,000 arrests per day isn't enough. And for those that say 3,000 a day is too much, I want to remind them, do the math. We have to arrest 7,000 every single day for the remainder of this administration just to catch the ones the previous administration released into the nation. That's what Homan said. It's unbelievable. Homan said that a conservative estimate, well over 20 million illegal immigrants are currently in the United States, and signaled that more ICE arrests are forthcoming with the new funding. We're going to be in New York City, he continued. President Trump said in 2 weeks ago, we're going to double down and triple down on sanctuary cities. Why? Not because it's blue city or blue state, but because we know that's where the problem is. The border czar reiterated that ICE officials will arrest illegal immigrants in the communities in which they currently reside and at work sites. In Los Angeles, widespread protests and riots erupted last month over ICE enforcement efforts in the cities, prompting the Trump administration to deploy thousands of National Guard members to quell the unrest.
In the meantime, the liberal mayors and other officials in the sanctuary cities in California are trying to say that ICE is targeting people ethnically based on their ethnicity or their language.
No kidding. Well,
they have noticed that a disproportionate number of Mexicans are in the country illegally.
Yeah, right.
And they've decided that that's because of profiling, racial profiling.
Of course it is.
And language profiling.
Of course it is. Right. Listen, people used to say, now Rotties and Dobies are great dogs, but years ago, 40, 50 years ago, not even, whatever it was, people, I hate Dobermans because Dobermans used to bite people. Yeah, the owners were horrible back then, and so what are you, profiling the dog probably because he's biting people? No, they bite people, so you got to be worried about them. So, where are we going here, Dick? You going to 16?
Yeah. Lux?
We got 2 minutes, right, Lux?
Okay.
All right.
Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell is facing calls for investigation due to allegations that he misled Congress about $2.5 billion renovation of the Federal Reserve's Washington, D.C. headquarters and the perceived extravagance of the project. Powell testified before the Senate Banking Committee on June 25th, denying that the $2.5 billion renovation, including lavish amenities like VIP dining rooms, special elevators, new marble, water features, beehives, or vegetated roof terraces. However, government planning documents, first revealed by the New York Post, reportedly show these features are part of the project, leading lawmakers to accuse Powell of providing factually inaccurate and deceptive testimony under oath. So Powell, who has fought with Trump about opposing cuts in interest rates, now is being hurt because of his extravagance in approving a $2.5 billion new headquarters for the Federal Reserve Board.
The critics argue Powell's statements reflect mismanagement and lack of transparency, prompting demands for accountability. The renovation, initially budgeted at $1.9 billion in 2019, has ballooned by 30% to $2.5 billion due to rising construction costs and scope changes. Critics include Senator Tim Scott and former Fed advisor Andrew Levine, liken the project to the Palace of Versailles for its luxury features, deemed wasteful, amid economic struggles for many Americans.
Well, when we come back, we'll talk about how voters are saying that Trump is keeping his campaign promises.
Promises made, promises kept.
The Dick Morris Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The Dick Morris Show.
Entertaining and informative.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Welcome back to the Dick Morris and Doug DePiro Show, sponsored by the Patriot Gold Group. A new survey shows that half of voters said that Trump makes good on campaign promises better than most politicians, and 38% say he does much better than most. So the Trump White House released 20 campaign pledges Trump made in the 24 GOP platform and said no president in American history has done more to keep his campaign vows in so short a time. And notice how the much just passed BBB delivers on and codifies these exact promises. Amazing. 1, seal the border and stop the migrant invasion. Done. 2, carry out the largest deportation operation in American history. Right in the middle of it. End inflation and make America affordable again. The new statistics show we're doing exactly that. Make America the dominant energy producer in the world by far. We're already number 1 and we're lengthening our lead. Stop outsourcing and turn the U.S. into a manufacturing superpower, which we're doing. Large tax cuts for workers, including no tax on tips. Defend our Constitution, our Bill of Rights, and our fundamental freedoms, including freedom of speech, freedom of religion, and the right to keep and bear arms. 8, prevent World War III, restore peace in Europe and the Middle East, and build a great Iron Dome missile defense shield over our entire country.
Well, he's working on that.
That's now in the BBB. The money's been appropriated. End the weaponization of the government against the American people. Stop the migrant crime epidemic. Demolish foreign drug cartels. And crush gang violence, locking up violent offenders. Rebuild our cities, including Washington, D.C., making them safe, clean, and beautiful again. Strengthen and modernize our military, making without question the strongest, most powerful in the world. Keep the U.S. dollar as the world's reserve currency, a battle ongoing, but that we're fighting hard for. Fight for and protect Social Security and Medicaid. Cancel the electric vehicle mandate. Done. Cut federal funding to any school pushing critical race theory, radical gender ideology, and other inappropriate racial, sexual, or political content on our children. Keep men out of women's sports. deport pro-Hamas radicals, and make our campuses safe and patriotic again. Secure our elections, including same-day voting, voter identification, paper ballots, and proof of citizenship.
Well, he's got the real ID, right?
By bringing it to new levels of success. Among Trump switchers, those who didn't vote for Trump in 2020 but did in 2024, 78% say he keeps his promises better than most, and swing voters by a 2-to-1 margin agree.
Unbelievable.
What an incredible record.
We should go over some of those that you said.
Yeah.
Like, cancel elected mandate.
Well, just look at it. Seal the borders, largest deportation, end inflation, give America the dominant energy producer in the world.
So right there.
Manufacturing superpower, tax cuts for workers and no tax on tips. Incredible range of achievements.
What's he got, a magic wand?
Unbelievable.
Obama, what's he got, a magic wand over here? What's the
Incredible
story?
progress.
And then the sanctuary cities, he's got released 22,000 criminals with no notice to the states. Listen to this. This is horrible. Excuse me. Sanctuary states released more than 25,000 criminal illegals back into the population without alerting immigration officials from October of last year to February this year, according to a newly released study. California was by far the worst offender with this. But the deep blue states of Illinois, Massachusetts, Connecticut, along with Virginia, also released thousands of criminals from their jails without alerting ICE that they were being released. That's unbelievable. I can't even get over this half the time. The study totaled the release of 22,283 criminal illegals released into the populace since last October. There have been 25,000 released since 2023. The worst was California with 13,000 criminals released. That is followed by the 3,000 released by Illinois, 1,600 released by Virginia, Massachusetts with 1,300, and Connecticut with 1,100. The study chronicled particular jails in extremist regions that release thousands of criminals into the general population without observing the ICE detainers' files against the criminals.
So while Trump is throwing them out of the country, the Biden administration let them into the country.
Let them in. The worst offender was Santa Clara County Jail in California, with more than 3,000 criminal illegals allowed to just walk out of the into California's population. The Cook County Jail in Chicago was guilty of releasing more than 1,000 dangerous criminals into the city. The far less Fairfax County Adult Detention Center in Virginia also released more than 1,000 criminals. Trump's border dude, Tom Homan, who's outrageous, said that the administration has no intention of slacking off on Trump's deportation policies, especially among insurrectionists, sanctuary jurisdictions. Why would they even want to send these people out? Tell me, give me something, Dick.
Well, the Democrats want them to vote. You
really?
Can't vote if you're in jail.
They doesn't care what they do if they hurt a little kid or something happens horribly.
And they're going to say, well, some of these criminal convictions are for DWI.
Too bad.
There are other stuff that aren't really serious.
Hey, I got arrested. I have to deal with it.
Yep.
Things happen in life, and you just deal with it. Do your thing, and that's it. All right, so Senate GOP smashes fundraising records. Now, this is good. Senate Republicans, outside groups, raised more than $85 million in the first half of 25, blowing past every previous off-year mark. Axios report Tuesday that the Senate Leadership Fund and its nonprofit partner, One Nation, more than doubled the total they posted over the same stretch in 23.
So that means as we're going into the midterm elections, the Republicans are twice as far as they were before in funding their candidates.
Because we're really backing this up. We know what's going on and what can happen. That's the thing. The two groups hold $83 million in cash on hand, according to the internal figures shared with Axios. Senate Leadership Fund plus One Nation have more than double their fundraising record for the first half of the off year, bringing it to $85 million. Executive Director Alex Latcham talked to me about the new era of the Super PAC with Thun as leader. SLF has $29 million in the bank, triple last year's level, and 5 times its 2021 mid-cycle. 5 times.
And Trump is more involved than ever. We're working with the White House to identify and vet Senate candidates as we navigate some of these primaries. This is significant. For many years, the Senate Campaign Committee, which is dedicated basically to the re-election of Republican senators, has refused to intervene in primaries. And the result was that many people were nominated who had no real chance of getting elected.
Right.
Last year, they stopped that, and they said, no, we're going to intervene in primaries, even sometimes against an incumbent, like the current one is against John Cronin, the senator from Texas. And now, apparently, the president is heavily involved, whether in person or over the phone.
And they want to identify some of the Senate candidates, and they want to make sure they got the right people going on. That's why the president's involved, the White House involved.
It's
a smart thing to do. And now there's cuts in the federal aid imperils EVs. That's beautiful. That's not beautiful, but it is what it is. President Trump, one big, beautiful bill act, has cast a shadow over the electric vehicle industry as it is expected to slow the market shift from traditional gasoline-powered cars. The Republican mega bill, which implements the president's spending and tax agenda, cuts hundreds of billions of dollars for clean energy tax credit that the Biden administration enacted through the 2022 Inflation Reduction Act, touted by Democrats at the time as the biggest climate bill ever. You know, I'm not happy about the EV going away, but it's going away. It's just not going to be.
Yeah, it's an effort to force feed the economy.
Right.
And if people don't like it enough to pay for it, subsidy isn't going to help you do that.
Capitalism.
It's just going to be a temporary thing.
Right.
Now, we've all followed in the Ukraine war the unbelievable increase in the number of drones, where wars are increasingly being fought by drones. For years, our military leaders have watched China and Russia deploy drone swarms, with U.S. forces that remain tangled in approval process and risk-averse protocols. The contrast couldn't be starker. While adversaries innovate on the battlefield, America has been administrating itself into irrelevance.
Explain that.
Well, the bureaucrats don't allow the drones. And in Ukraine, cheap Iranian drones have terrorized cities and crippled infrastructure. Kamikaze drones bypass the expensive missile defense systems at a fraction of the cost. Meanwhile, Ukrainian forces have turned commercial drones into battlefield game changers, proving that innovation trumps bureaucracy every time. The U.S. Department of Defense admits that America has failed to field drones at scale and speed, while our enemies have produced millions of cheap, effective drones. The Pentagon remains buried in legacy politics with endless approval trains. Defense Secretary Peter Hegseth has taken a sledgehammer approach to Pentagon dysfunction. In sweeping memos, Trump's controversial defense chief has torn up decades of bureaucratic restrictions, unleashed American military invasion in ways that should have happened years ago. Colonels and captains can now procure and test drones independently, bypassing the approval bottlenecks that have handicapped our forces. The department's bureaucratic gloves are coming off, Hegseth wrote. Lethality will not be hindered by self-imposed restrictions. Our major task is risk avoidance, Our major risk is risk avoidance. The specifics reveal just how revolutionary this approach is. Weapons boards must now respond to drone requests within 30 days instead of months. Small drones are reclassified as consumables rather than major weapon systems. Commanders can test autonomous systems immediately, and 3 new drone testing sets must be operational within 90 days. This isn't just policy reform. It's a fundamental shift in how American approaches military readiness. We got to hand it to Hegseth. He recognizes that bureaucratic inertia isn't some inevitable force of nature.
Right.
It's a choice, and he's choosing differently.
Listen, necessity is the mother of invention. With them
The timeline is ambitious but achievable. They want U.S. drone dominance by 2017, with force-on-force drone wars integrating into combat training next year. It's the kind of aggressive goal setting that reflects confidence in American ingenuity when bureaucratic chains are finally broken. Our enemies have gotten a head start, but they've never faced unleashed American innovation backed by decisive leadership. This is what accountability looks like in practice, measuring success by battlefield effectiveness rather than process compliance, prioritizing American lives over paperwork protocols, and recognizing that our greatest national security threat isn't foreign adversaries, but our own institutional paralysis.
Wow.
When we come back, Trump has opened a new front in the war against China's trade, building a wall around China. You've heard of the Great Wall of China? Well, this is the wall around China.
The Dick Morris Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The Dick Morris Show.
Entertaining and informative.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Welcome back to the Dick Morris and Doug DePiro Show, sponsored by the Patriot Gold Group.
Everybody, the call-in number is 800-848-9222. 800-848-9222. Call in and let us know, or debate Dick Morris.
Hi, let's go to Eduardo in Tampa.
Hey, Eduardo, how are you? Eduardo.
Yeah.
How are you?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, now I can hear you. Okay. Yeah, so I was going to say, the Democrats really are not in tune here, because their only stick is talking about illegal immigration. This guy in Omaha, Nebraska, this guy is the leader of MS-13 with an associate wanted for 5 murders in El Salvador. Okay. He came in under President Biden. Mm-hmm. So they really are not serious about guarding the border. Their only stick is, why are we not getting funding for L.A., Chicago, and New York? And thank God the Republicans are in charge, because otherwise we would have unlimited money going to these terrible written cities.
You're raising an important issue, Eduardo. The U.S. Constitution says that every 10 years we have to have a census. And the Constitution says the census should count the number of inhabitants, not the number of citizens. So if you live in the United States, you get included in the census. And that census is the basis for allocating how many congressional seats each state gets. Not citizens, but inhabitants. Now, the Republicans are trying to amend the law to make the census based on the number of citizens, not the number of inhabitants. And they're dealing with the constitutional objections to that, and they might likely succeed. So as the elections of 2030 loom in the distance, the issue is, how will congressional seats be allocated? Will they be allocated based on inhabitants, which will swell California's delegation, or will they based on citizens, with these deportations coming off the total of people included for representation? And that's going to be a key question.
And Dick, I could also see how they could fudge that any way they want. Let's say you have Westchester County, Putnam County, and Orange County, and they have 10,000 in Westchester. They don't need those 10,000. Just say that they're in Putnam County. Right? Because there's no address and phone, mailing address.
You hope they don't. But the important point now is that Trump is pushing for us to do the census based on citizens, not on inhabitants.
Absolutely.
So we're not rewarding people who are here illegally by representation in Congress. Let's go to Sandra in New Jersey.
Hi, Sandra.
Hi, Sandra.
Hello, do you hear me?
Yeah.
Hello?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Gotcha.
So, I wanted to say, last night I was reading about the Epstein files, and I actually had a dream about it afterwards. But what I wanted to say was, everybody wants transparency, so do I. But you have to think by the yard, not by the inch. And that's what I think Donald Trump is doing. All right, Bongino was upset. Kash Patel isn't following him, that I read last night. But I say this, there may be many, many influential people in the country that might be on that list, even if there is a list. Now, why would Donald Trump
You're talking about the Epstein list.
Yeah, why would Donald Trump want to ruffle the feathers of the people that he's trying to make America great again with right now? So I'm saying this is not the time to even let us know about the list. Donald Trump, I think if there is a list with names on it, we don't have to know right now. Let Donald Trump do what he needs to do quietly.
Well,
there's a lot more people that should go to
I don't agree
prison.
with you. I think that Pam Bondi has said that there are no names on that list, that there indeed is not such a list. And Bodingo, what's his name? Bongino says that's not true. And we can't continue with the top two people at the Justice Department disagreeing with each other about that. Mm-hmm. And if there are names on the list and Trump is involved with any of that, there are so many negatives on him. There are so many people who've come up with phony charges against him. One more isn't going to help or hurt. So Trump should relax about that and stay with Bondi, and if the list comes out, it'll come out.
I do understand Sandra's mind set behind this. But,
now, Trump is opening up a new frontier in his trade war. What China has been doing with Trump's tariffs is they're saying, okay, we will not send our products to the United States. What we'll do is send them to Indonesia, Thailand, and Cambodia. And what they do with the products themselves is up to them. And in fact, what we're doing is that we are letting those countries re-export into the United States so that they're getting around the tariffs on China by saying we're not China, we're Indonesia, Thailand, and Cambodia. So don't impose tariffs on us when in fact the tariff should be on China. Now Trump is saying baloney. He's imposing tariffs on a string of agreements across the continent, including with Indonesia, Thailand, and Cambodia, saying if you re-export goods from China into the United States, you're violating law. If he pulls that off, he'll build a cage around China's ability to use Asian markets to prop up Beijing's strained export-driven economy. Trump has put a 40% tariff on transshipments, that is, goods imported into Vietnam, mostly from China, and then re-exported to the U.S. The new tariff has doubled the 20% levy on Vietnamese-made goods, thereby sending a clear message to Hanoi. While Vietnam is welcome to export to the United States if it can cope with the 20% levy, Trump will come down on the country like a ton of bricks if it replaces Made in Vietnam stickers with Made in China. The president has also since threatened other Southeast Asian nations with more aggressive tariffs. This includes a potential 25% levy on Malaysia, 32% on Indonesia, 36% on Cambodia and Thailand. Trump's demands will certainly include Vietnam-style measures to increase the squeeze on China. Trading figures clearly show why Vietnam has emerged as an early candidate for this strategy. Since Trump first came to power in 2017, China's machinery and electrical goods shipments to Vietnam have risen from about 70% of its total exports to almost half.
Wow.
Since he returned to the White House this year, Vietnam's imports of these goods have jumped by almost a quarter. In the year to May, Vietnam imported 174 billion in goods from China and exported 132 billion to the U.S. The ebb and flow of these two figures tend to track each other remarkably closely. Wow. So China's cheating by using Vietnam to bounce off Vietnam and come to the United States.
It's like laundering money.
Tariffs. Yeah, laundering money, exactly.
Yeah, that's
they're
what they're
laundering
doing.
Exports.
Wow.
And Trump is cracking down on that, and I think he's going to do a very good job.
He's doing a good job, all right. His big, beautiful bill drastically increasing ICE funding. The agency's annual budget for detentions will skyrocket from $3.4 billion in the current fiscal year to $45 billion until the end of 2029 fiscal year. That's a 365% increase. Funding for ICE detentions will exceed funding for the entire federal prison system, in part because ICE facilities provide much higher quality of care for detainees than does federal and state prisons.
And they also provide sightseeing opportunities in the Everglades
and
to see the alligators.
And alligator feed.
Yeah, that's right.
That's horrible.
They have alligator feedings every couple hours.
Let's talk to Sean in Rockland County about the census of illegals. Hello,
gentlemen,
Sean.
great show, gentlemen.
Thank
and
you.
they also down in the Everglades, they have the American crocodile down there. Two people don't. There are alligators and crocodiles down there, so take your pick. So python doesn't get you.
Okay.
Well, I think alligators are
if the
North
python doesn't get you.
Are in our land, and crocodiles was from South America, but now they're both. They used to only be, and I could be wrong about
Well, the crocodiles could be illegal immigrants.
Cracker.
Well, I don't know if one of them grabs you. I don't know if you're going to know the difference.
Who cares?
They do have crocs down there, and good luck if they try to escape. But the thing is, we do have problems. I think the foreign countries where these invaders are coming from have to be held responsible. No more coke and hookah parties in New York City for these foreign leaders. And Ireland, oh my God, Ireland is being invaded. Ireland is a tiny island. It's only got several million people on it. They're invading it. The governments and the business corporations in Ireland have turned their backs on their own people and let all these invaders in, and they're on an island. It could be invaded and taken over, and that's what's taking place. And no one's talking about Ireland. They talk about the other parts of Europe. Ireland is.
That's a really good point, Sean. I'm going to check that out.
Yeah, who's invading them?
Right.
What people?
Let's go to Sonny in Florida. Hi, Sonny.
Hey, Sonny. We have a Secret Service.
I'm here in the villages in Florida. I had to get out of the pool just so I can talk to you guys.
Good.
You don't have one of those phones you could go underwater with?
I wish I had one, or a snorkel, right? That would be great. Connect it, you know? But, what I want to talk about is, President Trump made a statement that, he's very happy with the way his Secret Service performs and all that. I mean, what is he supposed to say? These are people that are protecting him.
That's right.
So, you got to watch out when they give him a styrofoam vest to wear, all right?
No, but I agree with you. He can't really go at them.
I know, and I don't blame him at all. But just to show some contrast, Lyndon B. Johnson, I read a book about him, and he never wanted to have the Secret Service protect him. In fact, he tried to get his own security, but but Congress wouldn't allow it. So he told them, keep always at 20 feet away. Wherever I am, I don't want you in any photos or anything near me. And all your job is to just take my dog out when it has to go out.
Ooh,
he was nasty. But I want to make this recommendation if he's listening. I'm talking about the president. I was a member of a group an arm of the military, and I can't go into any depth, but they have field offices all over the world, and they have a lot of funding, unlimited funding. Very trained. They go a lot of times to the same schools in Glencoe, Georgia. You know where I'm going with that. I don't want to get specific, but where they have the same training and much better. I mean, they follow all the SOPs to every detail. And I would, he's commander in chief. If I was him, I would look really into it and do a study on it because I feel he would be better off.
Good.
Yeah.
And also they have a second group within the same agency that's enlisted. All right, enlisted personnel in the same agency. That there are also police officers in the civilian world as well, like NYPD and all the big agencies, and they have high-level jobs. So they're getting 3 for the price of 1.
Yes, and it's great because I have a Secret Service story we're going to talk about right now. Senior-level Secret Service officials failed to share classified threat information related to President Trump with those assigned to protect him during the Pennsylvania campaign rally where he was nearly assassinated, according to Congressional Watchdog report. The Government Accountability Office found the classified intelligence had been presented to Secret Service officials a full 10 days before July 13th, 2024 assassination attempt in Butler. But the agency siloed practice for sharing. In other words, they put a cover over it, right, for sensitivity. Information resulting in few being aware of the threat against Trump's life. The Secret Service had
they siloed it so those who could do something about it never got the information.
Right. The Secret Service had no process to share classified threat information with their partners. So that's not good. But to bring it, that's pretty horrible, isn't it? It almost reminds me of 9/11 where one agency couldn't talk to another, remember?
Yeah, but I'm increasingly of the opinion that the Biden administration slow walked security for Trump.
I do.
And that they told them not to raise hell, even if there were assassination attempts.
Well, I don't know if those words came out, but yes, just to slow walk it. But I have a couple of stories about Hillary in the Secret Service. One gentleman was telling me he was a Secret Service guy a long time ago, Hillary, and a woman, he was putting this young lady on Hillary's detail when she was First Lady. And he said, go over to Mrs. Clinton and say hello to her. And it's nice. She's okay. She's not talking to anyone right now. Go over to her now. She walks over to her, and she's right out of the academy, I guess. She must have been pretty bad that they're putting her on this detail, right? But she was, shy. She says, hello, Mrs. Clinton, I am. And she said her name. And Hillary said, get the F out of my face. You're in my way. Don't bother me. I'm busy right now. And the girl just, coward. And one more thing, we went to his party. I don't want to say too much. And our good friend in New York, when Chelsea was getting married, Bill wanted to go out after the party. It was the weekend before they do the rehearsal party. And Bill wanted to go out and party and go to a club or whatever, right? And my friend, who's the head of New York, whatever, and he went to the Secret Service, and Hillary says, I want to go home. And he said, I'm sorry, Mrs. Clinton, the president wants to go out, and we can't break up the caravan, so we have to go whatever he says. And she ripped him, and he's a good friend of mine. You effing, again with the effing, blah, blah, blah. And she ripped into it. This is someone that's going to jump in front of you for a bullet, and that's the way you talk to him. Everyone I know that works with Trump love him. They say this guy is the best. He offers some food. Well, we were there when he said to somebody, take home food to your husband.
But I think we should report that 6 Secret Service agents have been suspended for failures relating to the Butler assassination attempt against Trump. The nature of the threat described as highly classified by Secret Service officials in the report is not explained. The special agent in charge of the Secret Service's Pittsburgh field office, which oversees where the rally took place, told the Government Accounting Office that he did not receive any information about a threat either. He reported that if he had received the threat information, he would have requested additional assets such as ballistic glass, additional drone mitigation, and a full counter-sniper advance team, among other assets. The Senator Grassley from Iowa said the Secret Service had multiple opportunities to share this information leading up to the rally, but repeatedly failed to do so. Wow. So with that in mind, I think that we really need a thorough investigation of the Secret Service. And obviously the president is unlikely to ask for that because he doesn't want to turn on the people who are guarding him every minute of every day. And they did save him from a second assassination attempt
at the golf course.
On the golf course. But really, we can't have this. And it's clear that whether it was because the resources were compromised because they were protecting Jill Biden at the same time, or because they didn't much care what happened to Trump, we don't know. But clearly, this needs some investigation.
When we get back.
When we get back, we'll talk further about this, and we'll also talk about the New York City mayoral race.
The Dick Morris Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The Dick Morris Show.
Entertaining and informative.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Welcome back to the Dick Morris and Doug DePiro Show, sponsored by the Patriot Gold Group. Let's go to Andrew in New Jersey.
My wife
Andrew.
loves Trump, but there could be turmoil. She's from Thailand, so with the tariff, how should I explain it to her? It sounds like what you're saying is China's tricky, as they usually are. They're trying to use those other countries,
what they're doing
including
is
Thailand.
They're selling manufactured goods and equipment and machinery to Cambodia and Vietnam and Thailand.
Right.
And saying, you guys export it into the U.S. because you can do it without tariffs.
They're circumventing.
And Trump has said that he's going to double the tariffs charged to those countries if they do that, and impose a 500% tariff on countries that are systematically evading U.S. tariffs. It's a major threat and a major change and a very good move on his part. Sorry if it inconveniences your wife, but I'm sure she'll do well shopping with that. Let's go to Kathleen, please. Hi, Kathleen.
Hi, Kathleen.
Hey, Doug and Dick, how you doing?
Good.
With regard to last July 13th in Butler, as an amateur radio operator, I have to believe that those three-letter agencies and other security people did not have their radios programmed properly, and they didn't have what's called a net control, where they were in one location, there was somebody that was hearing what was going on all three frequencies, and then the decision maker is given the correct information.
It's so hard to believe that, right? That they're not communicating like that.
Yeah, I mean, that's all true. That's all maybe true, but was it deliberate or not? If that were Biden, would there have been these security lapses?
What do you think,
And
Kathleen?
I'm not sure that that's true.
Kathleen?
That are in charge don't know how radio works because they're all dependent on computers and phones. And as my experience is, people don't know radios. Kids don't know it anymore. Like when we were kids, we would have walkie-talkies and we would learn stuff. Everybody is so dependent on technology that they don't know how to run what we call a network.
Yeah, well, maybe. But I am very suspicious about the lack of security surrounding Donald Trump.
I know.
Very suspicious. Let's go to Kay in Manhattan. Hi, Kay.
Thank you, Kathleen. All right, Gary in Queens.
Hey, Gary.
Hey, Gary.
Hey, Dick. I think that with Cuomo, a big part of his agenda was to ruin the economy and to create fear in order to defeat Trump. We saw this specifically when Trump refurbished or reconditioned the Javits Center and also one of the cruise ships. Cuomo did not use a single bed.
I know.
So what was his agenda? The other thing that he did was, which I think is even worse than the nursing homes, was when he wrote an order forbidding pharmacies and physicians from prescribing hydroxychloroquine.
Oh, you're
now, if
right.
you think,
Yeah,
if
you're
you
right.
think about it, that's dastardly because, first of all, we know that for 50 years or 60 years, hydroxy has been used
For malaria. Yeah.
Exactly, which is a respiratory condition,
Right.
and it was used safely. Now, if I had a family member who was risking death, I would do everything. I would use experimental drugs. I'd send them to Germany,
Yeah.
but we have this possibility. Why outlaw it and say you could lose your license?
Well,
I think it's
Cuomo's conduct during the pandemic was unbelievable and
Horrific.
outrageous.
Horrific.
And I hate to say it, but I'm glad he lost because it was just unconscionable. I just hope we don't make matters worse by naming Mandami as the new mayor.
That's why Curtis definitely has a shot with the people that are running right now, because Cuomo, he's not doing well, right? Mandani, we got to look at the crazies and radical, and like you said, we got to just talk about his negatives across the board and really get him down. Adams, that he was going to help Trump with the sanctuary city thing, getting the illegals out. So a lot of his people don't like him. Curtis has a shot. I mean, a lot of people telling me, no, you're crazy. You know what you're talking about. You want to know what? He's got a shot, and he's got balls. I got to say it. He's
Trotsky, the Russian general, said the things are impossible until they become inevitable.
Yeah, right. That's Curtis. And
Yeah.
I got to tell you, and he's got the guts to stand up and do what he has to do. He'll get the right administration there and the police chief and all that guy. And, all right, who do we have on the line, Lux?
Hello?
Okay, Kay.
Hi.
Hi.
Yeah, I was going to speak about Epstein, but since my point was already made, I'd like to say something about Mandami and about his running. I believe this is the first time in the history of this country. I know we've had socialists, we've had communist parties before, but this is like a platform, and I find this really, really scary.
It is.
And
Yeah.
I hope
terrifying.
New Yorkers wake up to the terror of this and think Venezuela, think Cuba. I mean, these idiots. And the other thing I'd like to say
They're
is
not thinking,
we've got to
Kay.
get in. No, they're not. They're. We've got to get into the school systems.
Yeah.
We're breeding this. We're breeding this.
Yeah.
This idiocy.
And particularly with Mamdani, has been endorsed by the UFT and by Randy Weingarten, the head of the UFT. So what basically is going on is that the left is programming kids in the United States and in the New York area in particular to be anti-Semitic, to reject America, be anti-American, and we're paying the price for it now, and we're seeing how it's happening in our schools.
It's hard to believe. And I have to look into this, and for next week's show, we got to look into this about the Muslim Brotherhood with Mandani. Did he meet with them last week? I don't know. I'm hearing stories, and I'm also wondering what Obama's doing with this guy. We're going to look into this next week.
In the meantime, I want to repeat the story I led with in this broadcast. My friend John McLaughlin did an extensive poll about religion in New York State, and he came to the conclusion that while 30% of the voters in New York State say that they have Jewish ancestry, only 9% say they are Jewish. The rest are Jews who don't want to say that they're Jews, who don't admit it, and who don't practice Judaism. They report that they're atheist, agnostic, or secular.
So they got their own little club. They call it, they say they're Jewish, but they're, whatever. It's almost like a little club.
Yeah,
it's not
exactly.
like it's true.
Exactly, and you have a quarter of the city are people who are nominally Jewish who don't practice the religion.
for voting on the left.
Yeah. And look, I don't care if you are religious or not.
Yeah.
What I care about is, are you anti-Semitic or not?
Right.
And I think that we're inviting anti-Semitism in this city and in this country by our failure to be aggressive in dealing with the Mamdamis of the world.
Right. We need a guy like Curtis. Curtis will not let that happen. You know, he's gonna look at Rudy. Rudy was the best ever. No one in the world could beat Rudy Giuliani. He's looking at Rudy. He's looking at Trump. He wants Trump's endorsement. I hope Trump endorses Adams, first of all, because he's going to lose a lot of votes.
But, you know, the other thing that's interesting is Trump made a statement this week saying that if New York City elects a communist mayor, the federal government has a variety of ways that it can set that election aside.
How?
And govern New York City directly.
Really?
I don't know the answer to that. And I was
Oh.
intrigued by that.
Oh, we got to look into that for next
Now,
week's
I know
show.
he can in Washington, D.C., which is a creature of the federal government, but I'm not sure how it would happen in New York. Not sure if it can happen in New York. But
And
it's
Trump
worth
said
looking
this?
at.
He said this? You said
He said that. He said
Oh, I didn't hear
the
this.
White House has a variety of ways of governing places in the United States that elect communists and elect crazy leftists to municipal office. He didn't mention Mamdani in particular, but he was obviously referring to him.
Wow. I got to tell you, we got to think about getting out there. We got to talk about Mandani. It's Mom Donnie. I have such a hard time saying Mom Donnie. I'm going to call him Donnie Mom.
Let's go to Linda.
She might be off. Is she off, Lux, Linda? Yes.
Yeah.
Let's go to Linda. Hi, Linda.
Hi.
Hi.
I want to agree with you. It's a great thing that they're finally going after Brennan and Comey. Comey, whatever. But the one who started this, it's been going, everybody says this all this time. Everyone agrees. I don't understand why she started the whole thing, Hillary.
Yeah. I think they're going to go after her.
Everybody hates her.
Yeah.
Nobody, I don't understand why she should be the first one they go after because she started the whole thing and one people got killed.
Linda,
Well,
I think they're wetting their feet right now.
I think you have to go piece by piece.
Right.
The first step is we know who paid for the dossier was Hillary's campaign.
Right.
We know who hired Steele to conduct the investigation. We know it was Hillary's campaign.
What about the
question
telephone
is,
taps, Obama?
Now the question is, how did the intelligence, the phony, stupid intelligence that concluded that Trump was controlled by the Kremlin,
right?
How did that make it into the official intelligence summary for the president,
right?
Which the president could then refer to in the media, and the media treated the allegations with credibility because of that.
And
who did that?
And don't forget the telephone taps. Obama. Didn't Obama have telephone taps on his campaign office?
Yes, he did.
So we had that
But
too.
the immediate question is, how did the information about the dossier make it in onto the president's desk and then out to the media?
Right.
And Brennan was obviously responsible for that.
And there was a paper
now, what
trail.
was Hillary's role in it? She paid for it. She knew that this was illegal. She knew that it was inaccurate, but you have to walk up to Hillary step by step in this. And the first step is to go after Brennan and Comey, who had official positions in the government, and use those positions to advance this narrative, and then lied to Congress about it and concealed that fact from Congress.
That's it. Get them in the pool, then drown them.
Yeah, so go after them for obstruction of justice, obstruction of Congress, contempt of Congress.
And more
and
information
then
will come out.
Tell them if you have information about Hillary.
Right.
Now's the time for you to spill the beans.
Right. You won't do
because
80
it
years,
may
it'll be
mean
20.
you don't have to go to jail. She will.
Right.
So this is an investigation that has legs, as they say. And I think it could be very, very effective.
And there's so much. And listen, they started this crap anyway with Trump. They tried to put him in jail how many times? 4 times?
Let's go to Stu.
Hey, Stu.
Hi, Stu.
Hey, guys. I believe that Butler was a deliberately orchestrated attempt. The head of the Secret Service at the time really was a lesbian woman. I think she was motivated by Liz Cheney, and I think that there's just too much coming out now to point at it as anything other than a deliberate, orchestrated plot to make it look like incompetence.
Yeah. Well, clearly we need to investigate that, because clearly the Secret Service under Biden did not take measures to protect Trump and may have in fact endangered him. Right. So I think your view that Butler was a setup may be true and certainly needs investigating. Thanks for calling, Stu.
Thanks.
Let's go to Robert in Yonkers.
Hey, Robert in Yonkers.
Hi, guys. Great show. I want to talk about, I think we should talk about, and name him Mammy Claus, because he wants to give everything away to everybody. So, you know, as Rush Limbaugh had said, it's very difficult to compete with Santa Claus. So I think that his campaign and all of the voters he had, the people he brought with him, his entourage, who I heard were paid in the thousands, they were in the thousands. I don't know if they were paid. But it resembles to me a flash mob, like the flash mob that was in Friends with Benefits. You remember that movie?
Yeah.
And I think that this is what he's got at this point.
Yeah.
And he wants to create the perception that there's so many people behind this that there can't be any opposition. And you know, in nature, there's a phenomena like when little birds are fighting over something, and there's a bigger bird that comes along. The little bird will puff its feathers up to make it look like it's 3 times the size of what it is, and scares the big bird away.
That's it.
Yeah.
So the big birds are the voters that are out there, which have to vote. There is no such thing as not voting.
Yeah. We face New York City faces a mortal threat. This could be it for New York, because we've lost 125,000 residents in the last 5 years, and they've taken with them $32 billion of personal income. And now we're facing a huge threat, because if New York City is run by a communist and the policies adopted are pro-Muslim Brotherhood, anti-Semitic, we're facing a serious challenge to New York that could destroy this city. It's very important that we say that and that we make it clear.
Oh, look.
Thank you for your call. Let's go to Tom.
Hey, Tom.
Hey, good afternoon. Dick, why aren't Giuliani, Andrew, George Pataki, why aren't they holding rallies against this guy?
They will. They're not running, but they will, and they'll be heard.
Absolutely.
David Patterson has been very good on this and out front, and we need more people. We need everybody to say that New York is very vulnerable, and this could be a disaster. You know, I said the other day that this is like fighting the joy of sex with the fear of pregnancy.
Oh, God.
And you have all these free goodies he's passing out. Free bus service, which means lousy bus service.
Yeah.
Free everything.
He's got all the venereal diseases.
Which means no services at all. And we're looking here at the idea of, wow, I can get all this stuff for free. No rent means no services. It means no heat. The city stores mean lines around the block, and you can't buy groceries.
So get out there and vote for Curtis.
What this leads to.
So we need Curtis. That's what we need. Everyone, get out there. Dick Morris, it's been an honor to be here with you on this show.
77 WABC invites you to a family fun day and softball showdown on July 20th with net proceeds benefiting Shriners Children's. John Sterling will call the game as the FDNY takes on the NYPD with special guests Dwight Gooden, Art Shamsky, 77 WABC hosts including Sid Rosenberg, Anthony Cumia, Lionel, Dominic Carter, and many more. For more info and to buy tickets, go to ShrinersChildren'sChampions.org. That's ShrinersChildren'sChampions.org.